Hey everybody, this is Modern Refugee. Going to give you guys a real quick tour of my garden tonight. This is my basil. I always plant basil in a pot, and this is actually from seed that I saved from my basil plants last year. Um, the reason I plant basil in a pot is I've kind of figured out that it likes sun when it's younger, and as the plant matures it likes a little bit more shade, so then I can just pick this guy up and move it to a shadier part in my yard, so the leaves don't get sun scalded. But anyway, that's kind of my basil pot here. Going to take a little walk over here. As you can see, I'm barefoot. I'm kind of a believer in we're around electronics all day long, taking up positive charges, and if you walk around barefoot in your garden, you kind of ground yourself out. Plus, the cool dirt feels good on my aching feet after long days, so it's kind of my homeopathic remedy. But as you can see here, these are my strawberries I've got going on, and these strawberries are in my little bed here that I made with the tiles. This was an earlier video that I did back in the spring when the snow was still flying, but it's starting to bear me fruit enough for breakfast every morning, so I'm exceedingly happy that these guys are working out for me. Coming over here, I got some dill coming up. This dill here is also from seed that I saved from last year. I had a real good batch of dill, so I saved seed. Whenever I get a real good crop of something, I try to save seed from that crop just because it's really strong. And this right here is some Yukon Gold potatoes that I got in buckets. This is actually seed that was going to be discarded that had really long runners, and I thought maybe it'd be best if those long runners would be planted deep down in a container so that they can make roots and bear tubers. So this is kind of what I did with those kind of discarded seeds that were just going to be thrown out anyway. Coming over here a little bit further, this is kind of my Indian corn experiment. I'm trying to propagate a non-GMO, non-hybrid Indian corn so I can actually grow enough to grind this and make some masa and some meal out of it. But we're surrounded by agricultural corn, so I'm trying a little bit of an experiment to see if I can't get a viable seed out of it if I'm far enough away from the GMO corn so it won't cross-pollinate on me. So anyway, this is that experiment. I'm going to save a couple ears off of this corn here, and hopefully I can get some seed, but it's kind of a couple-year experiment. It's something I'm not going to know right away, so I don't want to waste all my good seed that I kind of got saved up until I know what's going on. So anyway, that's that. And then over here are my cucumbers. They're finally starting to come along. Kind of show you down here on the first leaves that came out, they had leaf spot, and that was because it was constantly raining, constantly wet. So I've kind of started covering these guys when it looked like rain or a real heavy dew, so they don't get any more leaf spot on them. As you can see, the newer leaf, or the newer leaves that are coming out here, they don't have leaf spot on, so it's kind of remedying it a little bit. But leaf spot will spread when the leaves are constantly wet, so that's kind of what I got going on here. But it looks like I've got this remedied. And over here, this big guy here is a sunflower that the birds planted. I always try to save these volunteers. That's actually what they're called when you got something that comes up unexpectedly. I figure if a plant's strong enough and a seed's strong enough to kind of survive the Michigan winter in the ground and still come up, that plant needs to live. So I kind of just let these guys grow, and I'll probably save some seed off this guy anyway, and then when the seed matures in the sunflower, I'll cut that off and I'll give it back to the birds. And then here, this is my early variety of cabbage, and as you can see here, starting to form little heads, looking good. Kind of word on varieties, you got to kind of experiment to see what seed varieties work best for you, and then try to stick with those varieties so they grow for you. I've tried a bunch of different varieties of different things over the years, and I kind of got my favorites that I use, and I use them every year, and I kind of rotate them around where I plant the stuff in the garden. So that's kind of my take on varieties. Coming down here a little further, these are my beans. I had a real rough time with my beans earlier, but they're starting to come along now, and I actually got a few blossoms coming on them, so I'm kind of happy about that. But I had beans that got eaten off, and then I had some seed that didn't come up, so I was kind of my beans kind of beat me up this year, but it looks like I finally might be getting some progress forward on these. And then over here, got some tomatoes coming. And a couple of these here are heirloom. This one right here is called Rainbow. It's supposed to be a striped tomato. And then I got another striped tomato coming up over here. And this one's called Tiger. And somebody was selling these at the local grocery store in red Solo cups. So I decided I was just going to buy one and try it out. And this is a real success story. I put this little guy in the ground, and boy, he just took off 100 miles an hour. I don't know if he likes the ground or if he likes the light here or what, but he's got blossoms. And he's looking really good for me. So that's those guys there. And these other tomatoes here I've got coming. These are actually cherry tomatoes that I saved from seed. I had some friends give me some cherry tomato seed, or cherry tomatoes last year, and I actually saved the seed from them because they just had a humacious bumper to bumper crop. So I just kind of went with that, saved the seed, and that's these guys here, and they're all in blossoms too. A few more volunteer sunflowers coming up. Anyway, I'm going to swing over here to my my little herb pot that I got here. My herb pot's actually an old wash machine. It's an old wash machine I kind of saved from the dump, and as you can see here, it's got a drain spigot on the bottom, and this has been the best herb garden I've ever had because it drains real well. I put a few field stones and some pea stone on the bottom, filled this up with good dirt. I've been using this thing for years, and every year I kind of rotate different herbs in this, and I actually got a French thyme, a German thyme, and rosemary in this. So this little old Ringer wash machine here is my herb garden, growing really good for me. But anyway, I'm gonna swing around here. I got some more herbs coming up in these pots here. I got summer savory and sage. So anyway, I'm gonna kind of gotta have a flower too, you know, Beauty and the Beast. But anyway, I'm gonna take a little bit of a walk, and I'm gonna show you the kind of the back half of my garden here. And these here are some raspberry plants that I just found growing wild. So I kind of dug them up, brought them home, and this one right here is really kind of taken. So I'm kind of hoping that I can propagate this guy and get him to spread. So I got raspberries. I'll take a little bit of a walk back here. Kind of show you here my my apple tree. Got apples growing on here. Now this guy here only bears about every other year, and this is his bearing year. So I'm going to be making applesauce and apple butter with this guy, what I don't save or we don't eat for fresh. But anyway, that's kind of another thing I want to mention as far as your fruit trees and stuff go. You know, because this guy bears only every other year, we're going to really hit the canning when this stuff comes in. You know, it's kind of a pain sometimes when you got tons of stuff coming in all at the same time. You don't want to can anymore, but we actually canned quite a bit from this guy 2 years ago, and I still got like 4 jars of apple butter left. So kind of when the stuff's coming in, got to have the stuff around so you can can it and put it up, because that might be all that you get for 2 years. So anyway, I'm going to take another little walk here. Show you another little bed I got going on, and this is my kind of my root vegetable bed, and these here are my onions. Again, I got another volunteer potato in there. That's probably a russet. But then I got my Spanish onions and my red onions growing in here, and these guys, some are going to get eaten fresh, and then some are going to get put up. I like to braid onions and put them up in the garage so they dry. That's usually about late summer, sometime end of August, first part of September, and I'll braid these guys up and put them in the garage, hang them up until a hard freeze comes, and then I'll move them into my buckets in the basement. And then here I got some carrots. Got a couple of later variety cabbage there. It looks like something's been munching on that one. And then here are parsnips. Parsnips are another kind of a good vegetable to grow in cold weather. You can kind of leave these in the ground. They're kind of a spicy carrot. They go really good with like beef roast, chicken and stuff. They're kind of like a white long carrot, I guess, is kind of what they look like. But I really like them, so I decided I was going to try planting some this year, and these are actually coming really good. I'm actually probably going to save a couple of these and let them go to seed, hopefully, and get some seed off of them. And then here are my potatoes. Got some potatoes that are coming up for me here. Got some blossoms popping up. Red potatoes do really good for me, so then I always plant some red potatoes. New Orleans and Pontiacs are kind of the two that grow the best for me, so that's kind of some of my potatoes here. But anyway, just kind of wanted to give you guys a quick tour of my garden. Hope you guys are getting a little entertainment, a little information from my videos. If you guys got any questions, put them down in the comments. I'll try to answer them the best I can. And I want to say thank you to all my subscribers out there. I hope you guys are enjoying my videos as much as I enjoy making them for you. But I appreciate all you guys out there. You guys have a great evening.